Why men shut down after loss and love feels impossible for them. We're going to dive into this conversation today. Here's one of the problems I see with modern dating. It's all about entertainment. It's about romance. It's about physical attraction rather genuinely connecting with another human being, warts and all. Not just their icks, but their trauma. We are all wounded to some extent, some more than others. You see, the dating narrative today is more centered around the man must climb to the highest room of the tallest tower to prove his worth, and a woman must maintain beauty to capture a man's attention. That is rather outdated to some degree because let's face it, and please forgive me for what I'm about to say, we have a dysfunctional dating marketplace and we have walking wounded walking around. It's not zombies, it's the walking wounded. And because it's outdated, I think the narrative in dating needs a makeover. And we're going to dive into this today. In fact, I want to recommend a book to all of you. If you haven't ever read the book, If the Buddha Dated, I highly recommend reading this book. By the way, all the books I recommend are listed below in the show notes under Jonathan Recommend Books. Why I recommend this book is I think we need to shift the narrative to more of a heart-centered way of dating. Now, I know a lot of the women watching this go, I date from the heart. Why aren't men dating from the heart? Well, yes, why aren't men dating from the heart? Because quite frankly, we have a wounded population. And I don't think we spend enough time for us dating coaches. Well, I know I do. I spend a tremendous amount of time addressing loss and grief. In fact, that's what we're going to cover today. Whether you're a man or woman, we've all suffered loss of some sort, some more painful than others. And here's the thing, dating and relationships can trigger our stuff like nobody's business. They can trigger our wounds intensely because the connection with another human being requires vulnerability. Let me repeat that. A connection with another human being requires vulnerability. So we have to, for today, we're going to look beyond the childhood wounds that often are centered around abandonment and rejection, okay? I know many of you have studied love attachment style, and if you haven't, I highly recommend checking out the book Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller, because it's centered around abandonment and rejection. These core wounds that makes it very difficult for two people to genuinely love and bond with one another. But today we're going to look at adult wounds. Now, some of the adult wounds that we experience, for those of us in midlife, okay, and I say midlife is after baby making years and before retirement. So most of you watching this are probably in the age between the ages of 42 and 69. Our most common wounds center around career and money, divorce, I said money or financial stressors, health concerns, our fading youth, and death. Some death in our family, a death of a loved one. As well, and I will dive into this, multiple dating is another form of loss, which I'll get to that in a second. So let's look at some of these traumas. Job loss. Many of you have followed my channel know back in 2005, I went through a significant identity crisis where I lost my high-end corporate job. I was going through a divorce, and then a few years later, the market crash of 2008 wiped me out financially. And that devastated me emotionally. And then speaking of loss, many of you know I lost a child. In 2018, my 19-year-old son, Connor, that's one of my favorite pictures of him right there. He passed away. And then I had a treasured relationship end. Can any of you relate to that? You had a treasured relationship end. Maybe you went through a divorce. Maybe you're going through a health concern. In fact, I even have that in my life because I do have a slight heart condition. Not that I'm dead from it, but there's a mourning, a loss, a grief over where our life was versus where our life is today. And I don't think people are talking enough about that in the dating realm. And let's not forget, nobody is talking about the trauma incurred from multiple dating and the ending of short-lived relationships, or as I said earlier, a treasured relationship. We are on this merry-go-round of dating where you connect with someone and it ends, and you connect with someone and it ends, and you connect with someone and it ends. And those are micro deaths, if you will, that requires healing. I'm going to repeat that. So why do men shut down after loss? Most likely they haven't done the proper healing work. And so, as I said earlier, we have a bunch of walking wounded going on, in the dating marketplace. And what happens is they think the next relationship will somehow automatically, magically be perfect. And because we hyper focus on entertainment, romance, and physical connection, and not enough from a heart-centered place, this is one of the reasons why people are experiencing multiple short-lived relationships. They're on the dating merry-go-round. And let's face it, online dating makes it so damn easy to go from one person to the next to the next. Sadly, 65% of all new relationships will happen in an online connection, but roughly 75% of singles out there will probably never experience a significant happy relationship because they haven't done the inner work to be prepared to be in a healthy, happy relationship. So what do these men need to do? I'm going to share something with you in a moment that I think could make a difference for these men, but more importantly, it's going to make a difference for you. Let me repeat that. What I'm about to share is not only for men, but it's for you ladies as well. I'm going to recommend a process that you do, and I'll tell you why you need to do this, to better prepare you, because if you've shut down after loss, it might be very difficult. As much as you might want love in your life, it might be radically difficult. And I'm going to share a process I learned with my counselor today. This is something I did as of today. So I'm going to take a moment to read something to you, and then we're going to unpack it. So what this is called a grief letter. Can someone in the chat box or in the comment section write the words grief letter process? Grief letter process. This is something I did today to navigate 3 of the most significant traumas I've experienced in my life in the last 20 years. And as I said before, my identity was obliterated. Did I say that right? In 2005. Then I had the loss of my son, and then a treasured relationship that ended a few years ago. So this is my personal letter. I wrote this to myself, basically, okay? And I'm going to read it out loud. I'm going to do it slowly. I might even repeat myself. And then I'll go through the steps of the value of why you may want to do something similar for yourself. So it's called the grief letter process. And it goes like this. Dear Grief. Oh, this is mine. I wrote it in my style, okay? Dear Grief. You and I, we go way back, longer than I care to admit. You first showed up the day everything I built came crashing down. My high-rise office, the big paycheck, the illusion of control. I lost it all in 2005. You took my pride, my identity, every damn thing I thought made me valuable. I wasn't just broke, I was gutted. And nobody brought casseroles, and nobody brought casseroles for the kind of death I experienced. But you didn't stop there. You came back swinging when I lost my son, my boy. You didn't just knock the wind out of me. You buried me under the weight of grief so savage, I wasn't sure I'd ever claw my way back. You wrapped around me like smoke. There was no breathing through that. Still, somehow, I lived. And just when I started to rebuild again, to let the light peek through the cracks, you showed up in her eyes, the woman I let in, the woman I believed in. I let myself feel safe again. I let myself hope, and then she left. Where am I? And then she left. So here we are again. You cling to everything I've loved and lost. And honestly, I hate you for it. You've been the ghost at every table, that ache behind every smile. But here's the truth. If you're still here, it means I'm still living, still risking, still fucking trying. So stay, watch me, because I'm not done yet. I've buried old versions of myself a dozen times. I've been shattered and humbled, buried to the ground, and I still wake up. I still choose hope. And even when it tastes like ash, you may haunt me, grief. You may haunt me, grief, but you'll never have all of me. Jonathan, that's my grief letter, okay? This is a therapeutic process to take ownership of your life and look at those pains that we've experienced. And as I said, this is why people shut down, is they don't properly go through the grief process. And we oftentimes think of grief when we think of death, but guess what? You lose you lose your money. You get professionally knocked down. You go through a divorce, a treasured relationship, even health concerns is a death of some sort. So I want to share with you the value of doing this, okay? Why this would be an excellent exercise for yourself. But most importantly, this is what I think we all need to do so we can be better prepared in the dating, mating, and relating process, whether you are a man or a woman. See, what it does is it clears emotional residue from our past. It clears emotional residue from our past. By the way, I have notes, so please forgive me. I'm going to put it up on my screen right here. It clears our residue from our past. Heartbreak. Every heartbreak leaves a mark. And I believe even those micro heartbreaks leave a mark. And if you don't grieve it properly, it becomes an emotional scar tissue, making you guarded, suspicious, emotionally shut down. So this letter makes space for fresh love by processing the old pain still sitting in the corners. Number 2, it helps you stop romanticizing the wrong person. You see, we've been indoctrinated that chemistry equals relationship success. And furthermore, we must be entertained in romance. There is such an entitlement. I'm sorry, ladies, I'm going to be critical of you today. And guys are jackasses, many of them only chasing their own selfish and egoic needs, usually through sex. But I'm going to tell you, there's this entitlement. A man must plan and pay for all my dates. That's what they must do. If you need to be entertained in romance to fall in love, guess what? You better be prepared, because I'm going to tell you, if you haven't done your discernment, and by the way, there's a link right here. It says jonathanasley.com/coaching. There's a link below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. I'm going to tell you something. Entertainment and romance clouds judgment. Dating is a discerning process, and my job is to help improve your picker. So again, if you need some support, check out the link below. But we need to stop romanticizing the wrong person. Unresolved grief makes us cling to the fantasy of what we lost, not the reality. Writing out the grief letter helps you see clearly. Not every ex was your soulmate. Not every loss means you're unlovable. Repeat that. Not every ex is your soulmate. Not every loss means you're unlovable. Number 3, it rewires your vulnerability. Let me read this, okay? Most people fear love because they fear losing again. Writing this letter is a brave act of emotional exposure. It strengthens your capacity to be open without losing yourself the next time around. It helps you be more vulnerable when we can. And by the way, I'm going to tell you something. When I wrote my letter, I was angry at these experiences. And by the way, I didn't even address my micro grief, which that might be in the next exercise. What's most important, it shifts you from victim to conscious dater. I am sorry, and I am guilty of this. We are suckling on the nipple of victim consciousness here in the United States. Grief can make us feel like love just happens to you. This exercise gives you the power back. You process your pain, you own your story, and stop the unconsciously attracting partners who mirror your unhealed wound. Do you know what trauma bonding is? Is when two, in my opinion, this is just my take on it, is when two people of trauma get together, they bond in their mutual trauma. In other words, their mutual trauma is attraction. But if you're not actively healing it, believe me, those mutual traumas will butt up against each other at some point. If you want to shift from a victim to a conscious dater, I encourage you to do the grief letter exercise. It helps you to emotionally self-regulate in dating. People who have processed their grief don't blow up when triggered, ghost when overwhelmed, or sabotage when things get real. This letter is like emotional training, or maybe training wheels, if you will. It gives you the tools to stay connected when your nervous system wants to run away. It raises your emotional availability. You know, many of us, myself included, I've operated from an empty love cup. I've had it low to some degree. Now, here's the thing. They oftentimes say you need your love cup full, overflowing, so you can give love to another. No, you just have to have the capacity to fill that love cup up. And from that filling of the up, you can give love to another person. It helps you self-regulate in dating. People who have processed their grief, it raises your emotional availability. You can connect with someone at a deeper level if you're emotionally constipated. Sorry, not sorry. Writing this letter loosens the grip of fear and grief and makes room for intimacy, empathy, and emotional depth. We call love, also known as love, intimacy, empathy, and emotional depth. And lastly, it reminds you of your capacity to love again. Many of you and those men out there who have been shut down from loss and feel like it's impossible for them, doing this work reminds you of your capacity to love again. You've been through it, and yet here you are. Writing this letter doesn't just say, I'm hurt. It says, I'm still here. I still believe. I still want love. That's not weakness. That's soul level strength. That is soul level strength. Folks, we have a walking wounded population. You, me, everyone. We're all wounded to some degree, some more than others. And those who are more deeply wounded struggle in romantic relationship. And once you get past the entertainment, romance, and chemistry, you're left with the actual relationship. And guess what? If you haven't worked on your stuff, you are going to be butting heads with another human being at some point in the relative near future. And that's why you may want to do this work and encourage somebody you're in relationship with. And if you want to learn how to write the letter, the prompts, and how to get there, reach out to me. I can help you with that. Okay? I can help you write that grief letter. Just schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know if it is. Post a comment below. I'd like to hear your thoughts. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, again, there's links below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. There's a link to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery, where you can have direct access to me on a regular basis. You can also get the books I recommend. You can follow me on social media. And most importantly, you can get my dating vows. This is invaluable. And that link is below. All right. Those who know my live format know it's time for Q&A. If you have a question, there's a little chat box over there. Write the word question and then post the question thereafter. Or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. All of the monies from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Aslay. That's a picture of him right there. He's my son who passed away over 6.5 years ago. We talked about that in the grief letter. And as honor, we donate to causes like the Hoffman Process, Insight Institute, and scholarships to coaching as well. And our goal tonight is $50. I'd appreciate some love for Connor tonight, given that it was centered around him and the grief letter. I'd appreciate some love. If 20 of you just donated $2.50, we'd get there. All right. Let's see what we got here. Eva says, I love your absolute truth. You talk 100% from your heart and that you can share it openly with many people hide behind that. By the way, one of the most courageous things we can do is be vulnerable. I'm unafraid to be vulnerable with you, be authentic and transparent with, within reason, so to speak. And that's a muscle I had to build. In fact, it was my YouTube channel that helped me build that muscle. So Eva, thank you so much for that. Laura is in the house. Writing a letter like that to our grief could really help anyone who needs to be strong, keep moving on when it feels impossible. I'm going to do it for myself. Again, you can write this letter to your grief, and it can be your micro losses, your major losses. The one I did was my 3 major losses. Losing my identity when I lost my high-end corporate job and my money in the market crash, losing my son, and then I was deeply in love with somebody. I wanted to marry them, and it really crushed me that they didn't want to. We were going in 2 different directions, and that crushed me. All right, let's keep going. Lisa says, thank you for your sorrows. Thank you so much. Just a reminder, grief letter process, not brief letter process, but thank you. Looks like Kristen's in the house. Let's see what she has to say. I think my guy has had some lasting grief with women because he seems to have a chip on his shoulder about women, and it's causing trouble in our relationship. I can totally relate to that. We might talk about that a little bit later. All right, Poultry Flowers is in the house. How do we know when to start grieving, when it's always possible to get back together? Wait, how do we know when to start grieving when it's always possible to get back together? Well, grieving process begins the minute you lose something. I mean, that's the moment it begins. Oftentimes we're in shock, we're in denial, we're bargaining, particularly in romantic love. We want to try to get the person to come back. Let me just say this when it comes to romantic love. If it's not right for one person, it's not right for 2. Trying to get someone back who isn't in it. You need 2 people to be in a relationship, and one person isn't in it. When it's not right for one, it's not right for both. That's my opinion on that. Okay. Esther Williams says, I have made it to 63 years old in March. I enjoy your words of truthfulness. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right. I'm going to give it a second to see if we have any questions come in. I've been working on some new content. You might want to hear this. So I'm going to share this with you. I'm going to work on some content centered around our common differences. So here's the thing. I've talked about this. Dating is about entertainment. It's about romance. It's about physical connection. But what we oftentimes don't talk about is the major breakups happen for some common reasons. So I want to share with you some common major reasons and some common minor reasons. And we're going to apply my love scale. It's my new book I'm working on. And we're going to apply this principle of recognizing where we are at with our differences. So one of the major differences in romantic relationships centers around money management styles or money in general. That tends to be probably one of the most common issues in romantic relationships. Now, it could be, differences in how much each one of you has, how much you should contribute in relationships. And when you have differences, you're going to have friction. Also, sex drive and intimacy needs. These are probably two of the most major reasons why people break up or go through divorce. Centers around sex, around money. Also, conflict resolution skills, because if you can't resolve your differences, if you have two different styles and differences or conflict resolution, and oftentimes some people say, I'm right, you're wrong, they're not open-minded, these differences, even so, just understand your difference in how you resolve conflict is a major challenge in relationship. Sometimes family and in-laws, long-term relationship goals versus life goals, religious or spiritual beliefs, emotional availability and attachment styles, core values and morals, parenting styles or view on having kids, communication styles. That can be major differences in relationship, career priorities and work-life balances, political beliefs and social values, personal growth versus stability mindset, how they handle stress and crisis. By the way, I am not the best when it comes to handling crisis. Travel preferences. By the way, I'm a big pain in the ass when it comes to travel. Health and fitness priorities, sexual orientation, your kinks, that sort of thing. A need for independence versus togetherness. These are 20 of the top major differences couples contend with. And we have this fantasy, if we love each other, it's just going to magically work out, because magic fairy dust always works when we love each other. And sadly, many of you ladies who are watching buy into the fantasy that we can work out all of our differences if we love each other. Now, there's something to be said for that, though. Here's the thing. Without healthy conflict resolution skills, your relationship is doomed if you have major differences. And if you're not familiar with the book, Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg, I highly recommend checking out this book. I'm going to tell you, because differences are going to come up. I know it's so great when a man takes, he must take me out to dinner instead of a coffee date because I deserve to be taken out to dinner. Okay, let me just tell you, it's great. Dinner is nice, a cocktail, getting dressed up, it's fun. But guess what? You will have short-lived relationship if you're hyper-focused on the entertainment, romance, and the physical connection without understanding the mechanics to a healthy, happy relationship. And let me tell you something, differences is what kills most relationships beyond the ick kind of differences. The Jerry Seinfeld kind of differences. She eats peas with a fork. She has man hands. She's a low talker. She walks around naked all the time, and the list goes on and on. And by the way, we have minor differences that can totally fuck up a relationship, and we're going to talk about one that might be both. Some of the minor differences is preferred temperature in the home, sleep preferences, food taste and dietary habits, TV streaming preferences, driving styles. Oh my God, driving styles can kill a relationship. Texting and communication frequency, personal organizational style, music taste, pets preferences, holiday traditions, gift giving styles, punctuality. Oh, that's one of my big ones. Preferred forms of exercise, coffee, tea, or neither. Cleanliness tolerance, use of technology, hobbies, leisure, how often you like to go out, and how much talking a person wants in the morning. These are all minor differences that can kill a relationship. So I want you to understand something. And by the way, I think there's one that could be major or minor, and that's snoring. I've known snoring to kill a relationship. First off, when it comes to differences, we have to recognize that we are going to have differences. This fantasy of entertainment, romance, and physical attraction that's going to solve all of your relationship problems, like many of you have bought into, is because, hey, look, the whole courting process might seem like fun, entertainment, romance, physical connection. But ultimately, if you want a heart connection with somebody, it's going to require rolling up your sleeves and recognizing that if you don't know the mechanics to a healthy, happy relationship, which is navigating differences, your chance of relationship success is fucked. There, I said it. It's highly unlikely, given that 65 to 75% of second and third marriages end in divorce if we haven't recognized how to navigate differences. So, first and foremost, you have to learn to tolerate a difference. If you can't tolerate a difference, it's basically a deal breaker. Okay, so we reach a level of tolerance, but tolerance creates resentments. Tolerance creates resentments. So we have to reach the next level of love, which is understanding of our differences. It might be cooking preferences, might be cleanliness preferences, it might be how much you talk to one another, it might be hobby and leisure, just to name a few. And when it comes to those big ones, you better have those conversations early on, money and sex, because guess what? I know you fall into the short-lived honeymoon phase, but guess what? That's going to be your relationship killer. So you have to reach a place of understanding. The next level above understanding is a level of acceptance. If you can't accept your differences and you're just in a state of tolerance, you will generate resentment. And as I said before, if your conflict resolution skills, if your communication skills are poor, your relationship success is almost nil. And you might be going, but Jonathan, I'm just supposed to set my feminine energy and men are supposed to lead because men are such good leaders of relationship. It's the one up, one down. Men, it's God, men, and then a woman. That's the way it should be. If men were such great leaders of relationship, why do we have such a miserable dating marketplace? And then let's think about all the emotional trauma men are carrying in midlife. Makes them even less qualified to be in relationship. Ladies, you are in charge of your relationship destiny. Never give that to a man. We talked about tolerance, understanding. The next level is acceptance. Beyond acceptance is getting to a place of appreciating our differences. All right, they like to leave the kitchen messy. I'm going to accept that. I'm even going to appreciate that's just their style. And eventually, we're going to see differences with people. We don't have to do this, but the highest form of love is adoring our differences. If you haven't read the book by Ariel Ford, it's called Wabi Sabi Love. I highly recommend checking out that book because ultimately, if you can't learn how to navigate differences in romantic love, these common things I just shared with you all is going to end up ruining that magically happy love that you feel when you're entertained and romanced and physical attraction for one another. It's going to fade. You know it. I know it. Let's just step into our big boy, big girl pants and go, you know what? Relationships are a lot more than entertainment, romance, and physical attraction. Is this sinking in with you? Is it resonating with you? I'd like to hear what you thought about what I just shared. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. Thanks a bunch. All right, let's keep going here. Where is my notes? Okay, where's my notes on that? All right, let's see what we got here. Oh, Poultry Flowers, thank you for the $4.99 super sticker. Thank you for the love. I appreciate that. Annika's in the house. Noticing that on the app, guys are talking to me and then stop. What do I do? Do I just move on or give it time? I have a rule of thumb. I'm sorry, I'm going to be blunt. I believe communication should be within a 24-hour period. And just say, hey, is this something you'd like to continue with, or have you moved, or would you like to move on? Is this is our exchange, our communication something you'd like to continue, or is this something you'd like to move on? That would be my way of navigating that. That's what I would do in that particular case. Okay. I just don't, you know what? It's bullshit. I'm sorry. I mean, yeah, there's the exception to the rule, but you know what? You're on the app for a reason. This slow burn method people are dealing with. I mean, again, within 24 hours, we could all may not read it and we might be busy, but I'd say within 24 hours, if they're not responding, just reach out 24 hours later, say, hey, are you interested in continuing getting to know each other, or should we move on? Okay. Great question. Esther Williamson's the house. I'm now trying to figure out how I can get in a better relationship with a man who has been in touch with me. Oh, good. Well, I'm happy for that. Way to go. Annika just gave us a $5 super sticker. Thank you for the love. That means our goal for the rest of the evening is $40. I'd appreciate some of that Connor Aslay love. All right, let's see what Joe Daisy says, I have difficulty sleeping with someone who snores, light sleeper. Yeah, you know what? I prefer a woman who's a heavy sleeper because I will occasionally snore. I did that test. I think I snore 10 minutes out of a night, 9 minutes out of a night. So I feel better when I'm with either a heavy sleeper or somebody who wears earplugs. But I got to tell you, every woman I've ever dated and had a relationship where we slept together, every woman I've known is snores. Every man snores. Thankfully, I'm not a heavy snore, but I can understand how a heavy snore. By the way, they can purchase a mouth guard. They can purchase a mouth guard that really makes, a big difference in the snoring. Okay. Tsunami says, I feel like all those things could be worked through if you talk through them, what the thing means to each other, work and understand one another and try to find compromise. Again, if you have poor conflict resolution skills, and if you're always, I'm right and they're wrong, it's going to be impossible. Can people work through things? Absolutely, but they have to be willing and committed to work through those things. Let me repeat, they have to be willing and committed to work through those things. All right. Joe Daisy wants to point out regarding my snoring, 10 minutes ain't bad. Thank you so much. That's what I believe it to be. I did one of those sleep study tests. They monitored me. I did all this stuff, and I think it worked out. My average for a 5-night period was about 9 minutes total. So it might be a spike of a minute or two and then nothing, and then a spike of a minute or two and nothing. So that's what I believe I experienced. Again, I think if I drink, that number goes up. I think if I drink, that number goes up. Helen is in the house. Oh, before I forget, Helen, if anyone wants to join the hot seat or the love seat, I just post a link right there. If you want to join me live, we can spend the last 20 minutes talking about this, okay? All right. Helen is in the house. Every X you have is a learning curve, teaches you a lesson about something. You have to take time in between relationships to understand the lesson before the next relationship. You know, it's fascinating to me because I did a lot of processing over my last relationship, and yet it's interesting because that chemistry bug, physical attraction can put blinders on, So I'm just aware that you have to really focus. My invitation for everyone is to really build a little bit of a friendship and try to keep that space of that physicalness as long apart as long as possible, because that can cloud things. But again, getting to your core doing this work and getting to your core values and really identifying where your differences are and where you're alike can make a big difference in relationship success. So I think you're absolutely right, Helen. You are absolutely right in that particular case. Okay. Helen says, love your description and analogies. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Karen is in the house. My late husband died after being diagnosed with Parkinson's disease for 29 years. I grieved every loss from the very beginning. By the time he actually passed away, I had grieved for years. Yeah. I from what I understand, this is true with people that have experienced with cancer as well, long-term ailments before someone passed. You're actually grieving the loss well before the actual loss. I'm not familiar of how prepared a person might be to enter back into the dating marketplace, whether they're a man or woman. But oftentimes I've heard they've been grieving well before the actual transition occurs, which it sounds like that's what you experienced, okay? All right. If you have a question, there's a little chat box in the corner. Write the word question, then post the question thereafter. Or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. All the monies from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Asley. That's a picture of him right there. He's my son who passed away over 6 years ago. So we'd like to get another $40 for tonight. That would be our goal. Let's see if we have any questions that came in. You know, it's interesting about differences. You know, when I'm looking through this minor list, food taste and dietary preferences, social media habits, texting and communication frequency, personal organizational style, pet preferences, holiday traditions, gift-giving styles, punctuality. You know, I am radically punctual. It is one of my highest values, and I have to bite my tongue in the dating process. Actually, thankfully, the last few women I've gone out with have been punctual, but I've had circumstances where, I mean, honestly, it really disappoints me. And I know you can have a valid excuse, but I think, you know, showing up late on a first date, and I've had it happen once and twice on the 5,000 dates I've had. But I do believe punctuality is a really important thing. You know, coffee or tea preferences, that was fascinating to me. Cleanliness tolerance. You know, my dearest friend is getting married, and he is a, you know, OCD when it comes to cleanliness. And his fiance, he calls her the tornado or the hurricane. And he's just reached a point, you know, that he just accepts that's where she is, and he just affectionately adores who she is, even though she is the hurricane. He gives it an affectionate name. I'm sure internally it's driving him nuts, but he's reached a place of acceptance, and they've navigated it, and he's just going, you know what? I'm just going to live with it because I'd rather be happy than I'd rather be right. I'd rather be happy than I'd rather be right. So yeah, those differences can make a big difference. All right. Hey, I'm going to give it another 30 seconds. If you have a question, write a question. Otherwise, we're going to have a short conversation tonight. And I'd love to have a little bit more flow before we wrap up. Oh, I'd like to crack my neck. I do appreciate all the love from all of you. You guys, my audiences are really, you are kind, you're caring, loving. I can't begin to tell you how much I appreciate you. All right. Looks like we got a bashful group tonight. I guess this topic wasn't as exciting for you, but I thought I'd give it a shot to talk about why men shut down after loss and love feels impossible for them. And it's understandable that when we experience loss, it can be difficult to put ourselves out there. And I think that grieving letter could make a big difference for you. It could make a difference for them. I know it's made a big difference for me. Marianne says, hello, Jonathan. I haven't got to see a live video in some time. What's new with you? Well, we're wrapping up tonight, Marianne. So thanks for catching it at the tail end. All right, we're going to wrap up this video as well. You know, first off, if you got something to share, post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. I missed Joe Daisy. I missed your comment. Where is it? 10 minutes. Well, I thought we got it. Oh, Joe Daisy did have a comment. Excuse me. Hearing this was needed. The self-love journey spans to family members, friends as well. In the process of healing, you see people around you in different perspective as you see yourself. Yes, I do agree. I do agree. Charo said, yep. And when someone tells you they aren't in it anymore, believe them. Please save yourself the headache staying from experience. I get it. I get it. I've been there. I've been that person that says, I'm just not that into it anymore. Oh, way up, you said a comment. Okay, let me find it. Bump. I'm trying to find Joe Daisy's comment. Well, please forgive me. I can't find it. All right, folks. Oh, here we go. Can you have a relationship with a covert narcissist? Of course you can have a relationship with them. Now, if you'd ask, can you have a happy relationship with a covert narcissist? Probably not. Probably not, but you know, it's interesting because I've known people that have been married to a narcissist and they just learned to navigate that person's trauma and worked around it. But that person chose lifestyle because they were with a very wealthy man that provided lifestyle, and they just navigated that person's gigantic ego and accepted that person's gigantic ego. Remember, we can learn to tolerate and accept or understand and even accept the differences even in narcissism. So yes, you can have it, but I don't know if you'll be happy. Joe Daisy did want to say, wanted you to know I appreciate you. Thank you, Joe Daisy. I appreciate it. All right. Oh, we've got someone in the house, Karen.
Oh my,
Hi.
this is my very first time of doing anything like this.
Yeah. So, well, thank you for joining us. What do you got to share with us?
Well, my late husband passed away nearly 3 years ago,
Okay.
and he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease for 29 years before he passed.
Wow.
And
I mean, I didn't know that it could last that long.
I know he was diagnosed at 51 and he died at 80.
Oh, okay. Got
And
it. Wow.
yeah, and I kept him at home with me for the entire time.
Yeah.
And every single time that there was a loss, I grieved that loss. From the very beginning, when I realized that our ability to retire together someplace different was gone.
Yeah.
From the time I knew that whatever it was that we would plan to do later wasn't going to happen. Every single time that he was unable to do something that he had been able to do the week before, the month before, the year before, I grieved that.
Oh.
So what happened over all of those years was that every single loss I grieved.
Yeah.
And so by the time he actually physically passed away, I had grieved for so many years that I was ready to let go and move on.
Yeah. Something, first off, I just want to give you a big, gigantic Jonathan Bear hug. First off, some people don't even have the courage to stay in it. It's interesting. I was thinking of Michael J. Fox when you started to share, and I believe he's had Parkinson's for 20 plus years as well. So it occurred to me that that's not something that's necessarily life-threatening. It's more of a physiological, neurological disorder.
You have no idea how incredibly devastating it is to every organ in their body, to every movement. And our hero was Muhammad Ali.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, he had it for a long time.
Because we're from Phoenix.
Okay.
And Muhammad Ali put an enormous amount of money into Barrow Neurological, where there was a fabulous there was everything from every kind of therapy that was available was there, including some of the best doctors available in the world. And so we were very involved.
Okay. So I have a question for you, because you just shared with everybody, in a sense, you were having I'm going to call them micro losses each day, and I'm differentiating between, like, a death is like when my son passed away, it was like, bam. And it happened all of a sudden, it was like gigantic. Whereas each day you're having a micro loss. And
that's true.
And so why don't you share with everybody, emotionally speaking, How did you navigate that for yourself? Like, how did you nurture your soul as you're experiencing these micro losses?
Well, basically, I was so intent upon making sure that he had the best quality of life that he could possibly have. And that was what I did. How good can his quality of life be today and tomorrow and next week and next month? And what can I do to help him achieve that?
Yeah. You know,
and when I knew that I could do that,
yeah,
then I had a purpose. I
Mm.
felt good about what I could accomplish.
Yeah.
It was a really great thing for me to feel that I could do. And I always felt really good about that. And so I'm going to say this, and people don't like to hear this, but what I'm going to say is that when he passed, I knew that I had done absolutely everything that I could possibly do to make his life as good as it could be while he was alive.
Aww.
And I felt okay about that. And so I was ready to move on.
Yeah. You know, what came to mind is, you know, God had sent him an angel, you know, prior to you.
I don't think so.
You were sent as an
Not
angel.
even close.
Huh?
Not even close. No,
You know what?
no.
He was very blessed to have an angel by his side. You know, I think of when my mother passed away, and just watching my father at the hospital. You know, there was, you know, when we talk about love, when we talk about love, we oftentimes have this romanticized version of love that's, you know, candies and flowers and things like that. And I always say genuine love is wiping the vomit off someone's face while they're going through chemotherapy.
Yeah.
That is genuine love. So, you know, what you shared with all of us tonight is you coming from the heart. And you said what was interesting about that is it gave you purpose. Like it really allowed you to do something extraordinary. You were effectively his doctor, his nurse, his chauffeur, his anchor, like all these things, I suspect. And you took on this giant role. And I don't think you came to this, you know, your spirit came in this body to be this person, to not just, you know, not. Nope. What?
No, I never wanted to be a nurse or a caregiver.
No, I
get that. The only reason I was there is because I loved him and he deserved that level of care, and I would give it to him.
And let me just expand upon that. You are, it seems to me, a person that genuinely loves from the heart. You called in an opportunity to be as loving as you can possibly be. It may not be what you wanted to do. You may have wanted to travel the world and see the pyramids and do all those things. And yet your calling, your purpose was to do something incredibly noble. And guess what? His quality of life was much better for it. And
absolutely.
So, okay. So what are you doing now? Like, are you going to go see the world? Like, what's on the agenda for Karen?
Well, believe it or not, my mother is 101 and a half.
Wow.
And she lives 2 miles from me.
Oh,
so guess what? I am the only person here. And so I take care of my mother that is a 101 and a half.
Well, it's interesting because GME says when your purpose is gone, it becomes difficult to find it yourself. And guess what? You found a new purpose. You're going to take care of your 101-year-old mommy.
I know.
Well,
but neglected to tell you something.
What did you neglect to tell me?
A man that I met, oh, I don't know, 1988 or 1989, who kept track of me all of
Okay.
these years
Yeah.
and kept track of my husband all of these years,
Yeah.
contacted me after he passed,
Okay.
and we are in touch. And it's a
Ah.
wonderful thing.
Where does he live compared to you? Just how far apart?
Oh, 400 or 500 miles.
Okay, of course it's that. It wasn't around the
Oh,
corner.
boy. I don't have time. I don't have time for somebody around the corner anyway.
Oh,
Let's be
well,
honest. So,
I suspect then you're watching my channel to navigate this this kind of I don't want to call it a pen pal or anything like that, but
no,
well, let's hope you
no.
two can get together and meet and have a drink and go out and have a good time
Yeah,
with each other.
we have.
Oh, you have
And
physically met.
oh, yeah.
Oh,
And
is that a wink wink? Oh, yeah.
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right.
It's,
All
and
right.
it's, really incredibly amazing. And
Oh,
we're doing very well. Even
okay.
though it's one of those long distance relationships that may never be what a lot of people are looking for. But
Yeah.
at our age, I'm
Yeah.
77 and he's 81,
Yeah.
that we see each other when we can
Yeah.
is really okay. He has
You
a
know what?
purpose, I have a purpose, and we're all right.
Look, if you watch my channel, you know I'm a big proponent of life partnership-based relationships, probably because I started this business in my 40s and it's evolved over the last 15 to 20 years. And yet what I recognize as we get into our 60s and beyond, you know what? It doesn't have to be a traditional type of relationship. You get to decide what it is. It's like, and believe me,
Mhm.
you don't want to be out in the dating marketplace swiping and all that
Oh,
other shit,
no.
you know? So if you got a live body, work with it.
No, it really is a very satisfying relationship for both of us. How
Well,
about if I put
amen
it
to
that way?
that. Well, Karen, I want to thank you for being kind enough to all of us to share your story. You know, I want to give you some big props. And I want to just
Thank
reach
you.
into the camera and give you a big, gigantic Jonathan Bear hug, if that's okay.
Thank Jonathan. I've been watching you for some time and I've never been brave enough to do this.
Well,
So
we love your bravery. Thank you, Karen.
thank you.
Bye now.
And I hope you appreciate what I've had to say.
Oh, very much so. We all appreciate, and everybody's been saying that in the comments. So
Oh, thank you so much.
Wow, Karen was not only brave, but she shared us a fantastic story about love. You know, I've often said real love is wiping the vomit off of someone's face when they're going through chemotherapy. Here's a woman who had a purpose by being, you know, she didn't want to be the nurse and all that sort of thing. That's not what she wanted, but she found her purpose in that. And what's interesting, how the universe is working, because she must be an amazing caretaker because her 101-year-old mother needs her now. And you know what? It doesn't have to be we see the world. You don't have to put your finger on top of the Eiffel Tower or the pyramids to have a fulfilled life. You know, we can find fulfillment in a variety of different things. And in her case, her purpose was to be a nurturer. Her purpose was to be that loving person for people that needs her. And I think that's one of the most altruistic things that a person can do. So a lot of props to Karen. Big hugs to her as well. Joe Daisy is clapping. Yeah, Karen. And Sherry says, what a wonderful conversation. All right, I'd like to hear your thoughts on all this. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. And if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified. Is it this way? Notification bell. So you can be notified of videos as well. Also, if you want to connect with me directly, there's links below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. There's a link to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery, where you can have direct access to me on a regular basis. There's a link to get the books I recommend, to follow me on social media, to get my free gift, and to get my dating vows, all listed below. All right, I'm going to wrap up this video as I always do. First off, give myself a big, gigantic Jonathan Barrick of self-love. I'm going to ask you to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love if that's okay. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone, a pet, a teddy bear, a pillow. Give it or them a hug of love, because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. I want to thank Joe Daisy and GM and Sherry and, of course, Karen and Donna. And I want to thank Poultry Flowers and Annika for the donation this evening. And Catherine and Gigi and Eleanor and Helen, everybody that was on tonight, big hugs. Have a wonderful evening. Be well. Bye now. Bye-bye.